पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं वादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। स्टार्ट।
हरिओम स्वामी जी। पहला प्रश्न मेरे से ही है कि डिफरेंस बिटवीन कि हाउ तत्वबोध इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम उपनिषद. Both talk about Atma and its oneness. So how it is? So I'll repeat the question again. How Tattvabodh is different from Upanishad? Both talk about Atma and its oneness.
Is it your question?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay. Upanishad means supremacy. Upanishads are the part of the Vedas. In the Vedas, there are 3 stages. In first stage, they are advocating for rituals. In second level, they say about upasana, devotion. And third level, this is the peak, this is the ultimatum knowledge of the Vedas. It's called Upanishad. So Upanishad is the ultimate authority about spirituality. And as you know, Vedas are not created by anybody. Vedas are breathing of the God. And Tattvabodh is a treaty in Vedanta, how to enter in Vedanta. So Shankaracharya wrote this book about terminology of the Vedanta. Everything he explains. So Vedanta, Upanishads are the supreme authority, and Tattvabodh is a prakriya, starting point. And Upanishads are the Tattvamasi. In this text, at the last point, Shankaracharya also said Tattvamasi Mahavakya. He talked about Tattvamasi Mahavakya. So Tattvamasi Mahavakya are great sentences, are the peak, essence, and Tattvabodh is the beginning. Both have same goal, but height is different. Tattvabodh is written by Shankaracharya in the beginning, how to begin into Vedanta, and Upanishads are the ultimate. Okay?
जी स्वामी जी कि आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड ऑन दैट पार्ट कि वो अपौरुषेय है और ये शंकराचार्य लिखित है, लेकिन कंटेंट वाइज एक ही बात हो रही है. सो हाउ व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस, बिकॉज द कंटेंट अपीयर्स द सेम. पिंड ऐक्य बोले और वो भी उपनिषद का थीम है. So Upanishad gives a utpatti of the Srishti. Same they have given over here, utpatti in a different format. But every Upanishad has its own way of accepting the elements. कोई 5 बोल रहे, लेकिन theme एक ही है. So how do we differentiate between Upanishad and Tattvabodh?
Theme is one because the target, the ultimate reality is one. The supreme and oneness, no second. So Shankaracharya himself is the authority, is incarnation of the God. Vedas Upanishads are ultimate. They wrote everything. In Upanishads, there are everything. But we cannot digest Upanishads directly. Upanishads are very heavy. So Shankaracharya or other Acharya also thought, no one can enter direct into Upanishads. No one can digest. So how to start? How to? In beginning in Tattvabodha, here Shankaracharya wrote, do you remember the first sloka? Mangalacharan, Mumukshunam Hitarthaya. The purpose of the Tattvabodha is those who are want liberation for them. This book helps. This is authority. Upanishads are authority. Upanishads are authority. This book is also same content because ultimate reality is one. There is no doubt. But how to start? Small meaning, small steps. A sadhak, a spiritual seeker, how to go in the Upanishads. So it means any spiritual seeker who wants to read Upanishads, he must read the fundamental text like Tattvabodha, Aparukshanubhuti, Atmabodh, Vivek Chudamani, Panchadasi. These they are same, no difference, because their goal is same. They are same level. But why? Then answer is Upanishad. Here in Vedanta we say Atmavari Drishtabhya, Shrutavya, Mantavya, Nididhyasitabhya. Atmavari Shrutavya, the supreme reality to listen, to be listened. And reflection, reasoning. And lastly, Nididhyasan, meditation. But how to reach? Upanishad says Tattvamasi. You are the same. But how we can understand this? So this is reasoning. Only one mantra is enough for a seeker. Tattvamasi. I am Atma Brahma. Prajnanam Brahma. One mantra, one great sentence is enough for any seeker. But how to digest? So this all process started by Shankaracharya or other Acharya for digestion. We can say for Mananam. The Upanishad says Atmavari Drishtabhya, but how Drishtabhya? What's the meaning? So we cannot go direct to Upanishad. If we go direct to Upanishad, then Upanishad cannot be digested. That is why this book also same content, Aparukshanubhuti also same, Vivek Chudamani, Panchadasi, every book has same content. For what? Only for your reflection, your reasoning, otherwise no difference. Same content, same fact, same reality, they are talking about same fact, only Brahman. Vedanto naam Upanishad Vakya. Vedanta means, if you translate Vedanta, do you know what is meaning by Vedanta? Vedanta means Ved, Anta. Anta means what? Anta means last part. So Upanishad Nama Vedanta. Vedanta means Upanishad. If someone can read Upanishad, no need to read Tattvabodh, Atmabodh, Aparukshanubhuti. Do you remember in the very beginning, in this text I told, if someone is capable, he can understand the supreme reality in this context also, in this book also. No need to go in the Upanishad, because context is the same. No need. You listened before previous lectures. I don't remember the day, but there I told, if sadhak spiritual seeker can digest this book, everything is compiled in this book, Shankaracharya. So no need for Upanishads. This textbook is enough. But slowly, step by step, we should go, and after listening, we should digest, we should learning and reasoning yourself. You convince your mind, you convince your intellect. First, Acharya told you, but you are not convinced. Your experiences, your thoughts, so many things are obstacles. But now you apply your reasoning, then you can convince yourself. So same content, Sankara, Upanishad are enough, Tattva also enough. No need to go ahead. If we cannot understand, so this is exercise. Okay?
Yes, Swamiji. Thank you so very much. Swamiji, next question is from Pooja ji. And she asked, if one is liberated in this life and he is in all beings, then isn't he in bondage with other bodies? I'll repeat the question. It's from Pooja ji.
Yeah, okay.
I can repeat, or it's okay?
No, it's okay. It's okay. Pooja, are you there?
Pooja ji can unmute herself.
Yeah, unmute her.
Yes, Swamiji, sorry. It took me a while to unmute. Yes, Swamiji. Can you hear me?
Yes. So your question is still question or solved?
Well, Swamiji, I wrote you the answer. I don't know if it's correct.
Okay. Now I say something about this.
Yes, Swamiji.
So everyone had heard the question. The essence, the question is very good. He thought, if someone liberated in individual soul, what about he is in, because now he is everywhere. Everybody is his body. But now you understand, the example is like sun is in the sky. And its reflection is in the earth, innumerable bubbles, mirrors, so many things. Only sun is one in the sky. Real sun is in the sky, but its reflection is so everywhere, so many places. If one bubble destroys, and the reflection of this bubble also go off, it does not affect another bubble's effect. So one sun is reflected in the everywhere, but individual bubble, where this bubble is and sun is reflecting there, so this bubble is destroyed. So this bubble is destroyed and the reflection of this bubble is gone. It does not affect other bubbles. Other bubbles is separate. This bubble is separate. So supreme reality is like sun. Our mental, our causal body, mind is like a bubble. So everybody, every human person, every being has its own bubble, like a bubble. So mind is like a bubble where supreme reality reflects. And someone liberates. So his personal inner instrument dissolve. It does not affect others because he knows I am everywhere. But in what form? In consciousness form, not in body's level. I am one, I am everywhere. But in which form? I am everywhere, not in personal individual soul. I am everywhere like a sun. So sun is everywhere. Everywhere reflects sun. So supreme consciousness, when the realized person knows I am everywhere, not individual body form. I am everywhere in form of supreme consciousness. So if one instrument dies, it does not affect another instrument. They work next time also. So one person liberate, it does not affect any other person. Okay.
And Swamiji, that person who liberates also does not feel bondage in other beings because he knows he's...
No.
Okay.
Beyond our boundary.
Ji, Swamiji. Thank you, Swamiji.
That is why he can feel I am that is why he can feel I am everywhere, because he are not bounded. Okay, Pooja?
Thank you so much, Swamiji. Pranam,
Okay.
Swamiji.
Pranam. Next.
Okay, next question is from Bhavana ji. She asks, kindly explain the causal body again.
Causal body, cause of the two bodies. In Vedanta, there are three bodies: causal body, subtle body, and gross body. Subtle body, we can say in simple language, our inner instrument, sense organs, prana. But then comes gross body like this. And who is the cause to them? Avidya, ignorance. So ignorance is the gross body, causal body. Causal means cause. So avidya, ignorance is the cause for two bodies. There is no like any body, like gross body is a body, subtle body like a body. You can't understand like a body. This is not a body, just a concept. Our ignorance is the causal body. Our ignorance is the cause for the sansar, for the bandhan. So there is no like other body. Body means ignorance, avidya. Okay, Bhavana?
Swamiji, thank you.
Okay.
Next question is also from Bhavana ji only. She
Okay.
said, you told us our nature is according to our gunas. Can you explain the gunas, and if anyone increases, then how to control it?
Okay. Our nature is according to our guna. Here nature means not your essential nature. Here nature does not mean your essential nature. Your essential nature is Sat Chit Anand. Here we talk about nature means your attitude. It can be changed. Some persons are greedy, so we can say he's a greedy person. His nature is greedy. Some are angry. We say his nature is angry. Some are emotional, some are not emotional. Their nature. So here nature means attitude only, not your essential reality. As we know, the essential nature is always same. But attitude, it can be changed. In childhood, our attitude was different. Now we are very different. And other age we will be very different. So attitude, it can be changed. And it depends on the gunas, sattva, raj, and tam. Obviously, when you are in sattva gun, You cannot be angry. You may try. If you are in sattvic gun, and that time someone insults you, you cannot be angry. Because your sattva guna is affect your attitude. Your rajoguna will also affect your attitude. Tamoguna also affect your attitude. If we want to change our attitude, we don't want to angry, we don't want to greedy, we want calmness, peace, then you have to get support from your gunas. The another part is of your question, how to increase. Very good question. How to increase gunas? In scriptures, there are 12 regions they can affect our gunas. Today, I'm not going to give them names, but 12 things are they can affect your gunas. There are some, for example, your studies. What kind of study you are doing? They affect your gunas. What kind of study you are reading magazines? Then another type guna is increased. If you read novels, another type, you are watching. So, sattvic, rajas, and tamas. These all things like your study, your friend circle, your food, your space where you living, like Tirtha Chitra, give you a different feeling. Marketplace give you a different feeling. And time, morning time, evening time. So time is also affect your gunas. So we can increase them. We can increase them. There are 12 regions your study. So you read good books. If you want calmness, peace in your mind, you read like scriptures, listen scriptures, a good person's autobiography. Your company, your friend circle will be good because they are affecting your naturals. So you can increase and decrease according to your base. Okay.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Okay. There are so many questions. I'm trying to finish all.
Okay. Swamiji, next question is from Nikhilji, Priyamvada Nikhilji. What is the cause of fear? Is it death, attachment to body?
Nikhil is there? Nikhil, are you there?
Yes, Swamiji, I'm here.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, then, Nikhil. So your question is about fear.
Yes, there is a addition to that question, which is, can fear be overcome by a mumukshu, or only a realized soul can overcome fear?
Okay. I have this question also. But your first question is, what is the cause of fear?
Yes.
And you give options also. Is it death, attachment to body, right?
Yes.
If I would say, I can reply it in two levels. The fear is because of attachment, not because of death. This is one answer, but this answer is not perfectly correct. This is also answer. Attachment is a fear, not anybody. We have attachment it gives fear. As I
Yes.
told, this is not correct answer 100%, but it's also correct. But the answer is duality. What the cause of fear? Dvitiya Dvai Bhayam Bhavati. In our Upanishad, there are written very clearly. We have fear because of duality, I and other. So until this perception is in my mind, no one can be free of fear. There may be something we can detach, but same time we would be attached in other places, other persons, because there is duality. So the perfect answer is the cause of the fearness is duality. Death is also maybe sometime, and attachment also may sometime. Both are the same level.
Understand.
Okay. Now next
Yes,
question.
yes, understand that. Yes,
Okay.
I understand that.
Yes, so he continues the question with,
Yes,
can
yes.
the state of fearlessness, or is it only for the realized?
I think I gave the answer in previous
Yes.
question. Okay.
Yes, so
So
it
it's
is
not
then for the realized.
above yeah, only realized person is the above of the fear.
Understood, Swamiji.
Okay. Because wherever is duality, then fear is compulsory. No one can remove the fear. It may change shapes, it may change name, but fear is always there. Okay.
Yes, Swamiji. Understood.
Okay.
Next question is from
Next.
Abhaj.
Okay.
Shama and Samadhan both talk about quietening and focusing the mind. What's the difference between these two?
Abha.
जी स्वामी जी
Unmuted. Okay.
जी स्वामी जी
Sam and Samadhan. Her question is Sam and Samadhan. In Sat Sampatti, there is Sam and Samadhan. So he is asking about difference. Sam means when you are trying to control your mind. Sama means you are master about your mind. You can control your mind. This is Sama. And Samadhan is when you have controlled your mind. One point, wherever you want your mind, you can put there. Your mind follow you. This is the Samadhan. Some means you are trying, you are master. You can control. So controlling power is the Samadhan. Some
समा
and when you take a mind and you put your mind on one point, single point, and mind follow you, this is the Samadhan.
तो धारणा उसमें आएगी समाधान में स्वामी जी द सिंगल पॉइंटेड फोकस जो होता है उसमें धारणा
Yes. You are, I think you are connecting from Yoga Sutra.
जी स्वामी जी बार बार वहीं जाती है घूम घूम के
Yeah.
ठीक है स्वामी जी थैंक यू सो मच
Okay, 2 points.
जी
She continues her question further. Example of laziness or pramad is what? What is the example of pramad or laziness?
I am the example of laziness. I am the example of laziness.
स्वामी जी हम लोगों के लिए बताइए प्लीज
मैं आपको ही बता रहा हूँ. I am the example of laziness. I am so lazy. Laziness.
नहीं स्वामी जी.
Okay. Laziness and pramad. In Sanskrit we call pramad.
जी.
The root is prama, the. So this word is very, very meaningful in Sanskrit. Prama means knowledge. Prama means knowledge. Pramad means you know, but you are not ready to do. You are fully aware, but your mind says this is not very important to me. If any ignorant person does not work, it is not laziness. If one person know everything, he know what is the action, what is the result, what is this, everything you know. Prama, then he does not follow his knowledge. So pramad means, laziness means after knowing and we cannot able to follow. This is laziness. Because we know the everything about that subject, object, but we have no interest. We have no interest. हो जाए तो हो जाए, नहीं हो जाए तो होने दो, हमको क्या. That is why in Lord Sri Krishna Gita, in Gita says, या निशा सर्वभूतानां तस्यां जागृति संयमी यस्यां जागृति भूतानि सा निशा पश्यतो मुने. We are very aware, very alert in the object of the world. We are very aware, alert. When we have flight from airport 5 morning, I'm not lazy. Anyone not lazy. And go to airport, take a flight, because you know the importance of the flight. But when we say you get up in the 4 o'clock morning, take bath, do meditation, you can say, yes, I do. I try, but I cannot. So this is a laziness. He don't understand the importance of the object. That is why laziness comes. If a spiritual seeker is laziness in the world, and worldly person are laziness in the spiritual level.
Spiritual.
So both are lazy. The difference is spiritual seeker, I can say like you. So you are very alert in spiritual level, spiritual things. But bodily person are not so interested, but they go to temples, do something, meditation, they do, but they are not have interest. So laziness comes because when we don't understand importance of this object. Okay?
जी स्वामी जी, इसका मतलब बुकिश नॉलेज पूरी है मगर उसको उसकी इम्पोर्टेंस समझ में नहीं आ रही अपने लिए कितनी
Right.
इम्पोर्टेंट.
And for example, I am here.
ये तो कुछ भी स्वामी जी.
Okay.
जी.
Swamiji, bless us to be as lazy as you, please.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, are you listening there? Okay. Next
The
question.
next question also from Abhaji only regarding, I'm not clear about the description of Anandamaya Kosha, how it exists with the likes and dislikes.
Anandamaya Kosha, you should go in the textbook and read the properly Anandamaya Kosha. But I can say that Anandamaya Kosha, I told the 5 interlocked caves.
जी
So last cave is Anandamaya. Anandamaya. The first thing is like in Sushupti, deep sleep. In deep sleep, you are in bliss.
ओके
Tatra rogi arogi bhavati. In the deep sleep, the sick person is not sick. The poor person is not poor. In deep sleep, there is nothing, any misery, no misery. So this is the Anandamaya Kosha. After deep sleep, when we wake up and we realize, ऐसा बढ़िया सोया, कुछ नहीं वाली. So this experience of the kuch bhi, nothingness, we experience nothingness. Like you see something, if in front of your eyes there is any object, then you know object. If there is no any object, your power of seeing is working. Suppose you have a torch and you put light somewhere. In front of the light, if there is any object, we can know this is chair, animal, trees. But if we put our light in the sky, so light is working, but there is no object. Light is there, but without object, it does not work. So in deep sleep, your Sakshi Bhav, witnessing power is there, but there is no object. Your experiencer is there. Experiencer is there, but there is no object. In this state, you feel relaxed. One thing. And other is Priya Moda Vritti. In Tattva Bodha, there is wrote
जी प्रियादि वृत्ति सहितम.
Vritti Sahitam. When you have a desire and desire fulfilled, then for some time we would be happy. So this happiness is Anandamaya. This is not your nature. Understand the difference between your essential nature happiness and this happiness. When we have desire and desire finished, desire have gone, and that time you would be happy. I am so happy. I have tea. So one tea cup also make you happy. One tea cup you can make happy. I am happy because I had tea. So this happiness, it was not before some time, and after some time it will go. So this happiness is also happiness, but not your natural happiness. So this is Anandamaya Kosha also. Okay?
बट इसमें लाइक्स
what-
कहाँ होती हैं आनंदमय कोशा में?
ये आपने कहाँ से लिया?
प्रिय आदि वृत्ति सहितम, तो प्रिय प्रिय का तो बोध नहीं होता ना आनंदमय कोश में.
होता ना, बहुत अच्छी चाय थी.
जी
The tea was good. आपने चाय थी, आपको चाय अच्छी लगी, आपको आनंद आया.
मगर जो आनंद किसी ऑब्जेक्ट पे बेस्ड होता है उसको थोड़ा आनंदमय कोशा की प्राप्ति को कहते हैं हम लोग. अगर वो आनंद.
Just listen. Anandamaya Kosha, this the vritti. Vritti means thought.
जी
Vritti means thought. I am happy.
ओके.
I am happy. This happiness came through object. So this is objective happiness. This happiness is in Anandamaya Kosha. Anand means happiness. This happiness came through the object, not your essential nature. So this happiness can come and go, This is not always. So this happiness, this thought, I am happy, I'm so happy, I'm too happy. So this type thought are in Anandamaya Kosha.
जी.
Swamiji,
Now,
can I ask something?
Yes.
Like this Anandamaya Kosha, the happiness that objects give us, but in sleep there are no objects. So then that happiness is without any objects. That is still called Anandamaya Kosha.
What?
Swamiji, जैसे deep sleep में आपने कहा we are in bliss, but that is not our real nature. That is still Anandamaya Kosha. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, but that is without the objects.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's go ahead.
Okay, Swamiji. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Next question is from Anurag ji. Kindly explain the three levels, Adhyatmik, Adhidaivik and Adhibhautik, in relation to Jnanendriyas. And are these also applicable to Karmendriyas?
Okay, tough question and a long, big question. Tough question and big question. Its answer is very big, so I try to finish in 2 minutes. Kindly explain the three levels of Adhyatmik, Adhidaivik, Adhibhautik in relation of Jnanendriya. Jnanendriya, the sense of perception, in Tattvabodh we discussed, they are in three levels. Adhyatmik, Adhidaivik and Adhibhautik. Suppose you take I. I is the sense of perception. We see objects. So I is the sense of perception. Where is this I? In our body. The I sense organ is inside our body. So we call it Adhyatmik. In here, in this reference, Adhyatma means inside body. In Sanskrit, Atma, the word has 4 meanings. I told you. The Atma word have 4 meanings. One is body. So this body, our gross body, here Adhyatma means our gross body. So this I, Anurag ji, are you there?
Swamiji.
Okay. So this I is inside our body. So this I, we call it Adhyatmik. Now, for support of this I, if we want to see any object, we require light. The most important factor is light. So sun is the sky. So sun gives support our eye. So this sun is also universal eye. Saksho Suryo Ajayat. The from the God's eye. So sun is the universal eye. In our body is our personal eye. So Adhyatmik means eye in our body, gross body. Adhibhautik in the sun, in the sky. Universal eye. And third is more subtle. This eye can be understood easily, and sun we can understand easily because sun is give support, give light. So we can understand this is also universal light eye. Now the thing started Adi Daivik. Adi Daivik who depend on the gods. Surya Devata, not a planet. So one eye is in our body, gross body. Another eye is universal eye, like a planet, Surya. Anyone can see, anyone can experience. So two levels of the eyes, anyone can experience. But third level, in our scriptures are they are written, Surya Devata, Shaptasratam. Surya is a god. So in God form, this is also I. This is the Daivik form. So one eye is inside our gross body, another eye is in the sky in form of sun, and third one Adi Daivik. Daivik is Dev. Deva means God. Devata. So we believe this sun is not planet. The moon is not just a planet. It is a Devata. Devata means gives, who always gives us. So sun is not just a planet. Sun is a Devata who gives, support us. So these are three levels. Adhyatmic in body, Adi Bhautik, Bhautik means both elements in the sky, and third one is सूर्य देवता जो रथ में बैठते हैं, जाते हैं, चक्कर काटते हैं, वरदान देते हैं, साथ देते हैं. Okay? Same. All indriyas have three levels. All, even karmendriya also. Jnanendriya, karmendriya, both. For example, our hand. Its devata is Indra. So karmendriya is inside body, and the out bhautik. So do you remember in Tattvabodha what is the cause of organ?
Swamiji,
5 elements. In 5 elements.
Swamiji. The cause.
Swamiji, your voice got
Air.
broken. What is your
Swamiji, air.
What?
Air.
Ear. Okay.
जी.
Ear for skin. Okay. Take example for the ear. Ear we have in sense skin for touch. The ear is element in the outside. Everyone can experience the ear, and we believe more than that, ear is the Devata God. So 3 levels, every sense organ, action of perception, and both indriyas have in 3 levels, in body, in universal 5 elements, and Devata. Okay.
Thank you, Swamiji. एक बस ये था स्वामी जी कि eyes as a the example of eye in a body, we are talking about both the physical eye and the power behind the eye. Both of them are
Power behind the eye, not physical.
Thank you, Swami.
Okay.
Next question, Swamiji, is from Meeta ji. She asked, we understand conditionings as Maya for Ishvara and Avidya for Jiva. So please explain how Avidya is different from Maya.
Avidya means your personal ignorance. Avidya means our personal ignorance, my ignorance. If I get knowledge, my ignorance will go. Not other person. Everyone has its own personal, very personal ignorance. It's called avidya. Avidya is on so many levels. And Maya, what? In Sanskrit, Maya the word is in two words. Ma means not. Ya means which does not exist. It means which, Maya means which does not exist but appears. So my personal ignorance, is called avidya, and collective. In collective ignorance, it's called Maya. Ignorance, I am telling everyone ignorance, but the word is not good. We cannot use the word just for understand this. My personal ignorance is avidya, and collective ignorance is Maya. Maya is one. Maya is a condition for Ishvara. Maya is not ignorance. But for understanding this topic, as my personal ignorance is in my body, in my mind, this is my personal ignorance, and other person has other ignorance, third person is other ignorance. Everyone has its own very, very, very personal ignorance. You have to remove this ignorance. But Maya is one. Collective. So we can understand like this way. Maya means collective, universal ignorance. Universal ignorance, but I repeat, I will not use the word ignorance because Maya is the pure. So Maya is the condition. So we can understand personal ignorance is the avidya, collective ignorance is the Maya. But don't use the word ignorance.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Mita?
Swamiji, thank you, Swamiji.
Okay.
Next question again is from Nikhil ji. He asked, is gross body always required to exhaust karma? If so, which karma, prarabdha or sanchit? For example, during meditation or a deep thought, can sanchita karma be exhausted? If so, how?
Very simple law. No, I got it. In law of karma, there is very simple, very straightforward answer. Gross body is only for prarabdha. This gross body, a particular gross body. Suppose I have taken so many gross bodies. In last life, I was some other body. I have some other body. And I experienced so many things, miseries, happiness. So this was a personal prarabdha. But in this life, when we take this body, so for this body, God managed some karmas from your sanchit karmas, from your account. So God takes so many karmas for this life. So gross body is exhaust your prarabdha karma, not sanchit karma. Only prarabdha karma. Next life, if someone is not self-realized, he has to take another birth. For next birth, again, he will be given some new prarabdha action karma from your sanchit. So sanchit is not directly connected to the body. Sanchit karma becomes a prarabdha. So only gross body can experience prarabdha karma, not sanchit. And your question is prarabdha. So
Swamiji,
understand very clearly. Yes.
So in this gross body, it's like a homework, right? We have come with this particular prarabdha which has to be completed in this gross body.
Yes.
And that has to be completed in this. So meantime, we can only complete it when we are in the gross body and not when we are not in the gross body. Is that right? We have to assume, we have to be in on earth in gross body to be able to finish that prarabdha or finish that homework?
Yes. Repeat question again.
Okay, so I just wanted to explain my question here or thought process that we need to assume a gross body to be able to exhaust
Yes.
the prarabdha karma, and that
Yes.
only that prarabdha karma can be exhausted in with that particular gross body. Next
Yes.
time it is homework.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Okay. And then meantime, can we also take care of some sanchit karma while we are in this gross body?
No.
So how does sanchit karma get taken care? How do we exhaust that?
Take a birth, and from your account, take from your account, we call sanchit karma, but God take again from there, and it called prarabdha. Whenever you experience, it would be prarabdha, not sanchit.
Okay, so that part of the sanchit which is being exhausted in this particular edition of the body is
Yes.
the prarabdha which we can only complete here.
Yes,
So,
in prarabdha form we can exhaust, not sanchit.
so there is they talk about something called kriya yoga where there is a calculation of.
Just forget to not the valid question. Okay.
Okay, not in this session.
Just
Thank you.
follow the scripture. Just follow the scripture. What scripture says, just follow. Okay.
Yes, Swami. Yes, Swamiji. Thank you, Swamiji.
Okay. Okay.
He has another question also, Swamiji, the next one. That should one aim for any doership at all to obtain agami fruits to nullify the sanchita karma?
I think it's also done.
Okay.
Next.
So again, he continues, what is the degree of freedom available to the mumukshu to alter his prarabdha, which is a part of a sanchit karma, which caused this birth? I mean, in this life itself. So does he have any degree of freedom?
Everyone, every jiva, every individual soul has some degree freedom to do work according to our capacity. So, not only mumukshu, everyone, we are also free to sin or merit. We are also free. Mumukshu also free. But sometimes, Ramakrishna Paraman always used to give an example. He said, like a cow is bound by 100 feet rope. So cow is free, 100 feet. He can stay 10 feet, he can stay 20 feet, 100 feet, not more than. So every person, every individuality have freedom, but in limit, not absolute. We cannot jump to pick the moon. This is out of our capacity. So jiva have freedom, or not only spiritual, mumukshu, everyone has freedom. He can work. Otherwise, no sin, no merit. If I'm not responsible, I'm not free. How can I do? So I'm not responsible. So there is freedom also, but in limitations. Everyone has freedom for do sin or merit.
So
Okay.
here what I wanted to ask Swamiji is that is the prarabdha can also be altered by these actions which we do? Or
Yes, sometimes. Okay.
Okay, Swamiji, I'll go for the
okay,
next
Swamiji.
question.
Okay. Thank you.
2 क्वेश्चन अभी हैं, हम पूरा कर दें. Yes.
Ji, Swamiji. Next is from Abhaji. She asked, does a jnani not pray to God because he sees himself as no different from God?
No. This is wrong concept. Only Jnani can worship God, pray God really. Only Jnani can pray God. We are not praying God. We are praying for worldly things. God is just a meaning. So God, realized person, always pray the God. But he's free. His prayer not for some object. His prayer is from his heart. So only realized person can really pray to God. We are praying for something. So realized person can pray and they pray. Next.
Again, Abhaji continues with the question, why would a Jnani's karma phala be distributed if they have been burnt in the fire of knowledge?
ये कुछ तो हमको मिलना चाहिए ना. Burnt for self-realized person. Of course, by Jnanagini, the fire of knowledge, they are all sin or merit burnt, no doubt, for him. But those serve him, they should be benefited.
जी.
So nature has found the law, as you know, the serving, who serve the God, the self-realized person, they benefited by his sin, his merit, and those who abuse him, they get his sin. This the knowledge of the fire, it burns his karma, no doubt. Next.
Again, it's Abhaji's question only. How does one know that he is self-realized?
Oh, very good question. I like this question. How do you feel, Abhaji? Are you realized or not?
पता नहीं स्वामी जी. I want to know.
There is not any criteria. You are hungry. How do you know? You are full. How do you know? Is anyway. You are hungry. You can feel hunger, and you take food, and then you feel I'm full. So this fullness, how do you know? Your personal experience. Self-realization is very personal experience. Even God, Sri Krishna also became quiet when Arjuna asked the same question in Gita 2nd chapter. He became quiet and he gave answer from the not ground, not direct. This is your personal experience. Okay?
जी स्वामी जी.
Last one.
Thank you
This
स्वामी जी.
question hai. It was said that Jivan Mukta's Punya Phala goes to the people who serve him. Ritu ji ka question hai ye, Swamiji. And the result of sinful action goes to those who criticize him. Can the Jivan Mukta even do sinful actions? He is all love. So which action of his is considered sinful?
Actually, I gave two examples in this topic. One was Raja Janak, another was Yajnavalkya. Both were playing their duty, I think. So, sin and merit is not for him. He is not doer. But according to the body, according to their condition, they work. They are detached. But body is there, mind is there, they are working. But without any sin, without any merit, they don't think about sin, about merit. They think only consciousness. So it may be, Lord Sri Krishna said, Yudhishthir, you tell lie. You tell lie. Ashwatthama is right. So in different conditions, self-realized person can work, it maybe appears like sin and merit for other person, for law of karma, but not for him. He is beyond of karma, so he is not doing it intentionally. Like sin, he cannot do sin. We think that the realized person cannot do sin. I say the realized person cannot do merit. He has no intention with merit or sin. Just by nature, things coming, going, and he is not involved. Okay, Rituji?
Thank you, Swamiji.
Okay. So now question finished?
जी हाँ
ये तो
स्वामी
बहुत
जी।
अच्छा सेशन था स्वामी जी।
अभी मैं शांति पाठ करूँ फिर बताता हूँ। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं वादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति।